I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon by our panelists. This is the panel on prop tech, less of a panel, and I think probably maybe more of a focus group. So we're going to hear a little bit of probably a deep dive, you might say, from each of our panelists about their respective areas. And there'll be a little bit of a time for questions and answers at the end. Technology is at the forefront of the move towards a more sustainable future. As I say, I'm delighted to be joined by panelists from 4 extraordinary businesses who are helping organizations realize their sustainability goals. Our panelists are specialists in their respective fields of technology, and I'll leave it to them to explain much more about that because it is beyond me. And not wanting to cross over Mark's instructions at the beginning, I will give them a bit of an introduction just so that we can frame who it is we have on our panel and the expertise, I suppose, that we've got in the room. And much like Rekka, I haven't memorized this, so in no particular order, Herbert Hetzel from Beyond Carbon Energy. Herbert's worked in a variety of roles in the real estate sector during his career and has spent the past 15 years working on CO2-free heating and cooling systems. Herbert's responsible for the entrepreneurial direction of Beyond Carbon Energy, a company which designs, finances, and operates CO2-free heating and cooling systems. Michael Soror, Verdant. Mike is GM at Verdant Energy Solutions and has been with Verdant for 15 years, although he doesn't look it. Verdant is the North American leader in smart thermostat technology in the hospitality field. They have thermostats regulating 2 million hotels rooms across North America and the Caribbean. Last year, Verdant, excitingly, were acquired by Blackstone, and this is part of that rollout for European expansion. Naomi Nye, Drax Group. Naomi has a decade or over a decade's experience working in the electric vehicle industry, and her current role is as head of sales of Drax electric vehicles. Drax so far have installed 14,000 electric vehicle charging points, and Naomi will be discussing EVs, the infrastructure required to support them in a commercial real estate setting. And last but not least, Deborah Faulkner, Optimize Energy. Deborah is director of Optimize Energy, who supply turnkey voltage optimization solutions across a range of industries, including the hotel industry. They've completed several projects for EEA members, producing active savings across a range of assets. So that's the know-how that we've got in the room. And as I say, this is a bit of a deep dive. And so each of our panelists will be giving a bit of a presentation about the detail of what it is their technology does in order to drive client goals. So it probably makes sense to take things one by one as we sit, doesn't it? So Michael, do you want to kick us off?
I'd be happy to, sure. So thanks very much for that intro. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I've already had some valuable discussions with a lot of you as I look across the room at our kind of obnoxiously big booth right up there at the front. But I guess this is an opportunity to take a few minutes and as Tom said, do a deep dive in the technology and potentially how it could help some of you solve some of your energy waste problems. So I guess Art, yeah, there you go. Those are the slides I was looking for. So as was already said, Verdant is the commercial leader in hotel smart technology in North America. We're in a lot of hotel rooms, 2 million to be exact. Our expertise as far as building HVAC controls predates the Verdant brand. The founder of our business started building thermostats in the 70s. So we've been doing this a long time. About 15 years ago, we launched the Verdant brand, and that's when I joined the business. And in a very short period of time, we went from kind of 0 to 2 million rooms. And we've done that as a testament to the technology, which we'll talk about. It's really a plug-and-play solution. It's an opportunity for any hotelier to add energy management to their property in a way that doesn't break the walls or won't break the bank. We can go into a hotel, install our system in just a few minutes a room, and just like that, you have a smart thermostat that reduces your energy bills by 10, 15, 20% a month, and what I like to call a BMS Lite, a building management system to boot, which is totally wireless and again, didn't require anything in the way of installation. As was also mentioned, we were acquired by Blackstone last year, and they are really kind of the driving force behind our global expansion. So coming off of our kind of leadership position in North America with 1 out of 7 hotel rooms in the US having a Verdant thermostat on the wall, we're now taking this brand across the world, starting with the UK. And we only have a handful of installations so far, about a dozen, but a lot of them are quite high profile. The Ned, right here, a couple blocks away, was one of our first installs here. We met them at an event just like this. They were very interested in what we had to say. We installed some rooms. Tomorrow we're going to present the results of our energy savings test, and I'll give you a sneak peek. The results look great. We reduced their run times by about 35%, and they're going to achieve an ROI in about 19 months if they go ahead with our system. So that's the kind of thing that we do. We give hotels an opportunity to have a quick, big impact on their energy waste. So, diving one layer deeper, what are the specific problems that we are looking to solve? Unreasonable levels of heating and air conditioning in empty rooms. Those of you who are fortunate enough to be at 100% occupancy, which I know is imaginary, but let's assume that that was true, will still have rooms physically empty over 60% of the time. Just like all of us in this room, we have hotel rooms that are rented and empty. Mine is sitting at 25 degrees because I like my room warm. So that's a terrible, terrible situation, if you are committed to energy waste. And that's not true, by the way. I said that for effect. I turn down the AC or the heat when I leave the room because I have a guilty conscience. So that leaves a really big opportunity, a low-hanging fruit to say, well, that's easy. We can fix that. And that's what our smart thermostat does. It detects using passive infrared occupancy detection when a room is physically unoccupied and lowers the temperature in order to save energy and save money, or increases the temperature, depending on the season, in order to save energy and save money. So what are the solutions that are out there today that are attempting to solve this problem? I mean, there are really two. The first one is the famous key card system. What we've found as we learn about the British and UK market and European market as a whole is that, number one, a lot of properties have disconnected or never had connected heating and air conditioning to their key cards. Key cards might just be disabling energy when it comes to light and receptacles, because some people have decided that turning off heating or air conditioning completely in the dead of winter or dead of summer is unacceptable. So key cards are for light and receptacles, but heating and AC stays blasting. And even, for the rooms that do have the heating and AC connected to a key card slot, many of our guests, as we know, notoriously ask for a second key card, stick something in there. So it's very easy to cheat a key card system. So the impact that you're getting is minimal, if anything. And then the other one is a building management system. And if you've had the privilege of building a large hotel with a world-class building management system, that will get the job done. But it's not cheap. It costs a lot of money. And if you built a hotel without a full-blown building management system, adding it to an existing hotel is cost prohibitive. And so again, we're offering an alternative to that, which is cost effective, really attacks that low-hanging fruit, and it's a good bang for your buck. So what's the solution? This is it. You can see the live one in person at the front of the room. It's essentially a sleek-looking thermostat. As far as your guests are concerned, when they're in the room, they control temperature. They can go up, down, and set temperature. You can decide what that temperature range is when they're in the room. And when, as I've said now a couple times, a guest leaves the room, we automatically go into setback and recover automatically when a guest returns to the room. And then, in my 7 minutes, which I'm probably getting to the end of here, we don't have enough time to get into a lot of the cool patented features that allow us to squeeze out as much energy savings as possible without disturbing your guests. So a lot of patents on how we treat night occupancy and how quickly we can recover based on how your rooms can heat or cool and how effective they are. So again, it's this balance between energy management and guest comfort. The other thing I'll mention is that we can control everything. So you might be asking, well, this is great, but I have some wall heater or I have a VRF system. The good news is we've spent a lot of time and energy and R&D developing integrations with everything. So whether you have a 2 or 4 pipe fan coil system, whether you have a radiator, whether you have a VRF or VRV system, and the list goes on and on, a ductless mini split. Odds are Verdant can control it, either with existing wires that you might have in the wall. So in that case, we would take your thermostat off and replace it with ours, or we can take a little device, stick it right into your unit, and then hang a battery-operated version of our thermostat on the wall. So again, either way, staying true to our plug-and-play approach. And then all of these thermostats mesh together wirelessly. So they all talk to one another without having to add anything else in the building. Each thermostat acts as a repeater, acts as a signal booster, so we can install up to 1,000 thermostats in your property. We plug one little box in downstairs, and now presto, you have what I've called a BMS Lite, or a kind of an easy plug-and-play building management system that allows you to fully monitor and manage all of your HVAC remotely from anywhere where you have an internet connection. And again, this wireless communication is all done at low radio frequency, nothing to do with your Wi-Fi, so it just kind of works always everywhere. And you know, everyone talks a lot today about reporting, so this also gives you a tool to be able to measure the benefit of our system. Again, with 2 million rooms installed in North America, and I'm Canadian, by the way, I keep saying North America, but with 2 million rooms installed mainly in the US, you know, we have loads and loads of case study and data, so the technology is proven, the savings are proven, and we're gonna make sure that you're getting regular energy savings results to make sure that you are staying true to your ROI goals. And that's it. So if you have any questions, I think we'll have some time for Q&A. We're also set up at the front and welcome to speak to you more in detail for anyone who's interested.
Brilliant. Thank you, Michael.
Herbert? How did I do on time?
Oh, is that absolutely spot on, obviously. Thank you very much. There will be some time for questions at the end as well. Herbert, would you like to take us through Beyond Carbon?
Pleasure. Thanks a lot. Well, I'm very glad to be here. If you're a hotel or real estate owner or an operator, you face a few issues. One of the issues is that the energy supply of the real estate participates very much to GSG. So the carbon output from heating and cooling in real estate is one of the biggest issues we have all over. Real estate owners and operators face the obligation to fulfill taxonomy and ESG demands, reporting. That's the reason why you're here for the summit. And the third is actually the character of your energy supply system will in future determine real estate value more and more year by year. We worked on a solution to those three questions beyond carbon energy. I'm founder and shareholder and CEO there at the moment. We have about 50 employees, not such a big company as yours, small but nice.
We were there not long ago.
We focus on carbon-free heating and cooling of real estate, if it's new or even if it's existing. So we are also focusing very much on decarbonization of existing buildings with the focus on changing energy supply systems from fossil to carbon-free. We aim for raise of real estate value. We want to have energy costs less related to developments on the energy markets, from the energy markets. So if gas or electricity is rising, our energy costs usually are not rising as much as the energy markets are volatile. And we want to increase the independence from any kind of central heating and cooling system that delivers heating and cooling to your site. We have three products. The first product is we offer a generalistic feasibility study to tell you or to show you what options you have with your project and with your site so that you make the right decision. Our point of view is that if the calculations and the facility studies are professional, then your decisions also will be more professional. Second product is we design, implement, and operate this type of heating and cooling systems I'm going to describe to you. And the third product is we built those energy systems on your site on our own behalf. And we run those systems, we are the energy supplier, and we sell heating and cooling to the people using the building, the tenants, the operator, whatever. So what's the magic behind that? The big magic is we are focusing on a kind of seasonal energy storage. When you cool your building, you produce a lot of waste heat. Usually we throw this out or we pollute the air surrounding the hotel. We don't do that. We catch this heat and we store it during the summertime in the ground, for example, and we use it in the winter to heat it. At the other end, there are some other technical extensions like heat pumps. We put in PV, PVT, solar thermal. We use groundwater if available. So we use all the energy supply systems we can find on-site. We focus on on-site energy, but the main issue is the seasonal energy storage. You have to see this energy storage like a battery. You can load and deload as often as you want, and it will always be the same efficient. This is approximately how it looks like. Well, those vertical black lines you see here are the symbols, for example, for geothermal deep probes. But we have other solutions also to construct this seasonal energy storage. If there are more than one building, we connect them via an energy grid. Energy grid is a kind of low temperature heating and cooling grid. We support these systems either on one side by heat pumps and or photovoltaic, as I said before, heat exchangers. There are numerous solutions to fit and I think we are able to find a very specific solution for your project. We work on that since 2000. We started our first project in operation 2015. We operate this now for approximately 9.5 years. The first project was 80,000 square meters big. We enlarged this project. In the meantime, we supplied there more than 230,000 square meters in Vienna, Austria. We have approximately 30 projects that are in operation now. We have another about 60. They are in different stages. They are either in design or construction or in development. And we have a quite interesting pipeline at the moment. We work in Austria, we work in Germany, we work in Portugal, in Italy. Yes, we're looking forward to get some new countries also on our scale. This is the first project I started. This is Vienna Viertel 2. This is the project that will end up at the end of the day with approximately 450,000 square meters, and it will support about 20,000 people working and living there with heating and cooling. This is one of the smallest projects. It's a residential building in Vienna where we took the gas away, but with the same technology as I described, we provide now there the residential areas with heating and cooling. We have numerous mixed-use buildings. This is an old building that has now in the ground floor restaurant and the upper floors offices. This is one of our biggest projects at the moment in Munich, where we also are talking about a few 100,000 square meters mixed between new buildings and old buildings. And what you get and what you benefit when you call me, we provide carbon-free heating and cooling. Because it's carbon-free, this is one of the best supports regarding your ESG and taxonomy reports. This will increase your independency from other energy suppliers. I mean, this may be not so important here in the United Kingdom, but in Central Europe, we are very keen about where the gas is going to come from in future. So therefore, we are looking into this type of system as no critical infrastructure. As we provide on a low temperature basis, this gives the best energy efficiency possible. Volatile energy markets have less influence on development of energy costs. And if needed, we also can supply the building refurbishment needs that go usually hand in hand with the changing energy supply systems. Decarbonization of real estate is not a very easy job. Gives a lot of headache. We invite you to join us on this journey. Thanks a lot.
Herbert, thank you. Naomi, would you take us through Drax?
Absolutely. Yes, so lovely to see you all. So as Tom mentioned, my name is Naomi. My role is Head of Sales at Drax Electric Vehicles. And for those of you who haven't heard of Drax, we are, among other things, the largest supplier of renewable energy in the UK. I sit within the energy solutions. So as a commercial team, we support our customers on their journey to reach their sustainability goals through power supply, so supply of renewable energy, through electrification services, EV, asset optimization, and also through smart meters. So I'm here today to talk to you about EVs in particular. And EV charging infrastructure. And I wanted to start by really setting the scene. Where are we now with electric vehicles? I think we've heard a lot today, and we will continue to hear how we need to reach our climate change goals. And transport is a huge part of that. It is the largest greenhouse gas emitting sector in the UK. So cleaner, greener transport is absolutely key. For some years, I think the government has pushed that change away from ICE vehicles, so internal combustion engines, over towards electric vehicles, and we've had various incentives over the years to try and make that happen. We are now looking at legislation. So there was a piece of legislation that came through called the ZEV mandate, or the Zero Emission Vehicle Mandate. And what that essentially means is that by 2035, 100% of all new vehicles will be fully electric. That date did change. Originally, the date was 2030. It got put back a little bit at the end of last year. And I think whilst that initial putback was a bit disappointing, I think because in terms of the underlying factors, they didn't really change that much. So still in 2030, we're still looking at 80% of all new cars will be fully electric and 70% of all new vans. To give you an idea on what that kind of looks like within the UK, the SMMT, this is a bit of a visual graph. So this is comparing 2023 with 2022. And you can see how month on month those EV registrations are growing. The market at the moment is really being driven by businesses, by company vehicles, by business vans. And at the moment, the statistic of that is 1 in 6 every new vehicle is fully electric in that space. In the private sector, that statistic drops a little bit to 1 in 11. So I think we are still seeing a number of barriers there as to what that looks like, how we can make that better, I think particularly in the private sector. And a number of those barriers are probably shared in the commercial space by businesses, and that's really what I wanted to focus on for you today and where we can help. Having the right infrastructure to support this transition is absolutely key, and I think looking at your EV strategy and your charge point implementation, how that can roll out. The title of this speech was really do's and don'ts. I think I'm just going to focus on the do's. I think the don'ts will just naturally occur. So as a partner for EV charging, we're in quite a unique position in the energy sector, and it allows us, I think Tom mentioned earlier, we have installed over 14,000 charge points to date, and we can share some of that experience with you to help formulate your plans. Moving away from ICE vehicles is first and foremost a huge behavioural change. No longer will we be going to a petrol station to fill our cars. We won't be going somewhere to fuel our vehicles. We'll be going somewhere to do something, and while we're doing something, we'll be fueling our vehicles at the same time. So when I sleep at night, I have my car on charge. It charges overnight at home. If I'm in a work meeting, then I'll have it on charge, so when I leave that work meeting, I've had a top up, I'm ready to go to my next destination. When I'm at the gym, when I'm going out for a meal, entertaining friends. So for the hospitality sector, this is a huge opportunity to really support your customers. And I think if we get it right in the hospitality sector, it will also give you a chance for some additional revenue as well. The process does have to be done correctly, and I think in terms of that, when we're looking at what's the first and foremost thing we need to look at, for me it's all about planning. It's actually about having that EV strategy in the first instance, and I think this is where some of the complication initially comes in. Firstly, where does it sit in the business? Does it sit with your energy? Does it sit within facilities management? Does it sit within procurement? it'll often cross a number of those different stakeholders, and each of those stakeholders will have different priorities. So bringing that conversation together and have a real understanding of what are the business needs, how do we kind of do this effectively and tick all of these boxes and reach all of these different priorities. And I think those early conversations involving expertise within those early conversations can really help guide you. I think when we're looking at this as well, I think it's about keeping your options flexible and future-proof. Those conversations can be really difficult at this stage. You may not know what you need to put in. When we think about how fast technology moves, you think about mobile phones and how quickly they changed over the years. How do we keep things open? How are we going to future-proof and keep them flexible? And I think that's absolutely key. Legislation and regulation is also changing very fast. We are still, even though for me, I feel like I've been doing this for quite some time, we are still in very early stages. And what we're seeing from regulation and legislation is that it's almost coming out and backfilling some of the holes and trying to make things better. In terms of your sites, if you operate a number of different sites, each of those sites will have their own unique challenges. Understanding how that site works. So it's not just about capacity constraints. You know, what kit can I put in? Kit comes in all different levels and draws all different amounts of power. But it's also understanding how those sites are used, how are those vehicles moving around the site, accessibility. Are you going to lose parking spaces? Are you going to have to make parking spaces bigger? There's all sorts of things there that we have to have a look at. And that comes in from the initial design. And sometimes doing bespoke designs per site will be a better way of doing it to bring your strategy to a close. Working with a company that is agnostic can help you do that because they have access to a number of different technologies, a number of different pieces of hardware, for example, that they can look at and really kind of help bring you that together. And as we move away from the early adoption phase, I think back in the day, the early adopters were very forgiving if things went wrong. They were very, very understanding. But I think as we're moving into mass adoption phase, we're looking at those designs being more intuitive, more simple, more streamlined. And I think the design itself may have to look at a number of complexities, so you'll have some quite complex kit in the ground, but for those EV drivers using it, it has to be simple and it has to offer a good experience. The hardware itself, it's outside in all weathers. It's being used on a regular basis and sometimes not very kindly. So thinking about how that kit is going to operate in that scenario, sometimes going for the cheapest option, dipping your toe in the water, may not be the best solution. It may end up being false economy because you're going to have to take that kit out and replace it very, very quickly. So again, making sure that you're having those right conversations, I think, is absolutely key. In terms of technologies coming through, there's a number of different technologies charge point providers use. So down from load balancing technologies to manage power, there's different payment solutions, different technologies there. Even the ability to work on open platforms so that your hardware can connect to different back office providers, that stops that consumer tie-in for yourselves. So when you're thinking about contractual things with EV charging providers, don't fix yourself in for too long. Sometimes, you know, these contracts can go on for, say, 10 years. Technology will change a lot within that time, and you want to be able to keep it updated and flexible. So have a think about that side of things as well. Taking care of the kit in the ground is equally important. When people are coming to use a charge point, it has to work. They have to be able to plug in and they have to get that power. So thinking about a full turnkey service and maintenance option, having a company that can come in and do that for you, those regular health checks, the electrical safety, keeping your site compliant and safe is going to be absolutely key. And I think a charge point operator, somebody that can just take care of all of that for you, can remove some of those pain points as well. Putting the kit in the ground, this is quite a big thing. It can be really disruptive to a site, trying to dig it up and put charge point equipment in. Health and safety is that key consideration, but making sure you have a full project plan, project management team, project timelines. Your EV charging provider should provide all of this for you and keep you communicated and keep you informed all the way through the process. And also, I think having someone that understands where the legislation and the regulation is going, making sure that you're always ahead of the curve with things. Public charge point regs are changing again in November this year. The focus on that is all around user experience and making that user experience as good and as clean as possible. Energy demand. Now, I feel a bit bad about this one because all morning I've been listening to ways of reducing your energy and controlling your energy. Putting EV charging in, your energy is going to go up. Okay, so how do we manage that? How do we look at that and make that effective, particularly in light of, prices of demand and grid demands and how we control that? And there is various technology that can help support. You can link your charge points into your building management systems, your energy management systems. You can link them into other technologies, solar, battery storage, all sorts of different things that can help support that demand requirement. And to take that a step further, we do also offer asset optimization services. So we can look at the site as a whole, we can look at the EV charging, where that sits, and how we can play with that for you to make that better. I think for me, that kind of covers everything I wanted to say at this point. I'm looking forward to catching up with you all later and hopefully answering some questions as well. So thank you.
Naomi, thank you. Deborah, would you talk to us about Optimise?
I will. So I'm Deborah Fortner. I'm one of the directors of Optimised Energy. So voltage optimisation, it's you'll be relieved to know, is not a very complicated thing for us to look at here today. Leading on from what Naomi's just said, we actually do then, on the flip side, help to reduce energy. And it's a very simple, electrically engineered piece of technology that is very simple and easy to fit with immediate wins. So 2016, I was working on the annual hotel conference. Some of you may remember me from back then. And the conversation around sustainability and ESG was getting louder. And that got me thinking about my own values and where I wanted to be in my work life. A few years later, I had the good fortune to meet my business partner, Marco Stefani, who was in the renewables sector, working with wind turbines. And they'd come across a technology which they were using to regulate the voltage, the high voltages spikes that wind turbines can cause. And he asked me to come on board to maybe drive forward optimized energy. And I saw, from my time with working with hotels at the annual hotel conference, that this could be a really good solution for the hoteliers that I knew. So, how does it work and how could it help you on your ESG journey? So it's a really simple concept, as I said, and I think the best way to understand this is to understand the problem that it solves. And most people won't realise that they have actually around a 10% wastage built in to their supply. So whilst most people, logic would suggest that you start looking at your supply and measuring and managing on your operational side, you could be missing a key problem on your supply side. And that's where voltage optimization can come along and actually turn that problem into a really effective solution. So to understand how that problem occurs, we need to look at just two things. The first thing is that all equipment was manufactured back in 1993 with the single markets opening up. It was all manufactured to a standard of 220 volts. So that is the optimum level at which your equipment will operate. The UK has a harmonised supply on the network of 230 volts. So we can already see that there's quite a discrepancy starting to build. And if we add into that there's a +10 tolerance with a -6 tolerance, that gives a much wider range of 253 down to 216 volts. So we can really start to understand where that problem lies. Now, if you're situated on the distribution line closest to the substation, you're going to be receiving a much higher voltage on your property than the guys at the far end, which is 216 volts, which we have no conversation with those guys. They're all right. Incidentally, the average UK voltage is 242. So most people in the room would have viable properties to look at optimizing. And I know I'm sending out lots of numbers to you here, so I do actually have this on an article that you can click on my banner on the QR code or take one of my little cards, and everything is on there as well. So obviously we've got quite a range there that we're looking at. If we go back to looking at what the optimum level is for 220 volts for your piece of equipment, anything basic physics says that anything above the 220 volts is energy that is wasted, but it never just dissipates. We can't just lose energy. It turns into another form of energy, which will then become heat energy, which is very detrimental to your equipment. So that's adding to your cost, because then you've got maintenance and replacement of that equipment as well. So you can often see this with, you've got light bulbs, LED bulbs that blow rather quickly. You can actually feel the overheating. If you plug in a laptop and feel the charge, you can feel that is actually the heat damage that would, if you didn't have a transformer, be directly issued into your equipment. So this isn't new technology. It's been around for quite some time, and it's a proven technology. And the partners that we have, our manufacturing partners, are the original UK manufacturer of VO in the UK. They brought the technology over from China 30 years ago, and they re-engineered that equipment for use in the steel industry. So that became a very big success story, and they decided obviously to roll it out across all sectors and all commercial and industrial landscapes in the UK. So they now have 22,000 plus VO units operating in the UK. And the ones that they have fitted at the very beginning, 30 years ago, are still operating in exactly the same way that they did when they were put in there. And that's pretty much down to the fact that it's an electrically engineered piece of kit. It's not mechanical, so there are no moving parts. So the shelf life of that equipment is actually probably far longer than us. So yeah, why is it really good for hotels? What benefits the hotels? Well, because you're working on the supply side as opposed to reducing energy on your operational side, you don't have to impact guest experience, which obviously is a key thing. And also you don't have to have an enormous amount of downtime to fit the equipment in there. It's usually around sort of 2 to 4 hours for that connection to take place, which means it's very, very fast. And with your immediate returns as well, that makes it a very attractive option. So in real estate terms also, because you're reducing your emissions from the knock-on effect of using less energy, you're also then making sure that your asset remains valuable, so you don't become a stranded asset in the eyes of any investors. And also you're shown a commitment to meet that market expectation and comply with legislation. As we've seen, it's becoming ever more stringent to report on.
Deborah, Ufi has come and sat in front of me and just reminded me that we are probably close to the end.
Sorry.
Would you?
Yeah, I'll just, I whizzed past there. I will send these slides out if anyone wants them as well. I do apologise. So we've kind of covered all of that. You've got a very short payback period of roughly around 6 months to 2 years, and around 10 to 15% is the average that we will save financially on this equipment. We've got a couple of examples here. This is actually Holiday Inn. This isn't an EEA member, and the Carbon Trust were actually involved in this and doing the survey. So as you can see, they saved £34,000 per year, and a very healthy 76 kilograms of carbon is saved in a year, and 10% overall savings. This is Alim Herji from Ashley Hotels, one of his hotels, the Seiko Part Hotel. He's saving 12.5%, and he saved 15 tonnes last year with 38,000 with a 6 months payback. So he's actually rolled that out across his entire estate now, because obviously, he turned around and said it's a no-brainer, his words. So we were very pleased with the results that we could get for him. So just to summarise, you can reduce your environmental footprint very quickly as a first option. I mean, obviously, it's very difficult once you've done your energy audit and you're faced with lots of choices and suffering from the inertia of how do we invest, where do we start. This can take you over that barrier to actually then not even impact anything within your operations by reducing your usage on the supply side. So you've already tackled what we have as a 10% wastage that's supplied to us. And that is me finished. Thank you very much.
Deborah, thank you. And thank you to all of our panelists.